What is up, everybody? Welcome to episode 4 of Bet Parks Presents Stick to Hockey Live. Russ Cohen at Sportsology is going to join us in a moment. We've done this like every year for the past, I think, 4 or 5 years. Me and Russ preview the division, and we also go through our picks for the Nhl Awards and a couple of other made-up awards. I don't think we ever audit the awards to see how we did, although I guarantee you when Russ comes on in a second, he'll tell you that he always gets it right. He probably does. I suck at it. Let me tell you about Bet Parks real quick before we get to Russ and get to the content here on the program. Bet Parks, great app. Great app. Matter of fact, how about me last night? Exact score, 3-1 Rangers. Boom! Nailed it. $2 bet won me $50. Love it. Get on the Bet Parks app. What a way to start the season. I put in 2 plays. 3-1 was one of them. Get the Bet Parks app. You can bet that exact score, first to score, over-unders, player performances, same-game parlays, live in-game betting, you name it. It is all there. Easy to use, easy to figure out, right in your pocket, faster to win than ever before. And right now, I'm a little winded by the way I was running downstairs. Right now, all Bet Parks users can use the promo code JASON750. I know Russ is writing that down right now. JASON 750. Russ knows there's no Y in Jason. And you can get a risk-free bet up to $750. So check it out. New and existing users, terms and conditions do apply. So download the new Bet Parks app today. You do need to be over 21 and present in Pennsylvania or New Jersey. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. And let me tell you about Conquerville Subaru. Great people at Conquerville. That's why I bought my first car there back in, I think, 1989 and bought many since. Why? Because Conquerville cares. My son's going to buy his car there, first car. And that's right around the corner, if you can believe it. He'll be 16 in December. Got to get the permit and do the whole thing. But Conquerville cares. It's not just a saying. It's really a fact. And why is it a fact? Here's why. They've done and continue to do tons of work in the community. Matter of fact, Conquerville Subaru was the first Subaru Nation Love Promise Dealer of the Year winner back in 2015. They also have 8 years supporting Nemours Children's Hospital of Delaware. They've adopted 15 classrooms in the Marcus Hook Elementary School. They give them $500 to buy classroom supplies. Teachers get to figure out what they want to use it on. Plus, they continue the donation of thousands of coats for La Comunidad Hispana in Kennett Square. Over the last 10 years, they've done that, and they continue that to this day. So now's a great time to visit the beautiful showroom on Route 202 in beautiful Glen Mills, PA. You can check out the certified pre-owned inventory or check out a list of incoming Subaru vehicles. Get down there, check it out. It's more than just a dealership. Also, a great service department, free car wash with every visit. So check out ConquervilleSubaru.com online and check out the showroom again on Route 202 in Glen Mills. And remember, Conquerville cares. Let's get to him right now. You see him on Twitter. It is at Sportsology. You see the website, sportsology.com. He is a writer. He is a Mets fan. He is a good man. And it is Russ Cohen right now. Russ, how are you?
Jace, how are you?
I'm doing good, man. Are you in mourning with the
it's not
loss of the Mets?
Time. It's not a good time, and there's a lot of Phillies fans that want to dump on the Mets, and that's fine. Met fans would do the same. So you have to just grin and bear it. But I'm wearing my Jets hat because they're over 500 because I figured, right now I can.
Yeah, wear it while you can. That's
right.
A great motto.
Yeah.
Eagles
temporary happiness. That's what it is.
Yes. Well, you got to take it how you can get it, and you can't question it. What'd you think of training camp for the Flyers?
All right. So the biggest thing I could tell you is I was in Pittsburgh for a week. For close to a week for the Fall Classic for the USHL. So I was watching the Penguins practice all the time and reading about the Flyers practice, and completely 2 different practices. Even though, Sullivan was an assistant of John Tortorella, they do things completely different. And I still feel like the Flyers are behind in what they were doing because of the unbelievable attempt at conditioning and everything else. Even though you really can't condition a team in 18 days, it's hard to. But the attempt at that, and and John saying he couldn't really play systems for most of preseason, I feel that's put them behind, and that set them back. Now maybe there'll be some sort of springboard forward when they all get it during the season, but I just feel like camp set them back a little bit.
Yeah, and certainly all of the guys being banged up in camp. I mean, you have guys like Hart, Ristolainen played one preseason game. Atkinson, I think, played one preseason game. Konechny, Provorov, one preseason game. The pairing of D'Angelo and Provorov was only together for one preseason game. So, I mean, that's an issue as well going in because no matter what, you know this, Russ, you've seen enough NHL practices. No matter what you do in practice, scrimmage, anything, it's not a game.
No.
Can't simulate it.
No, you can't. With Cam Atkinson, it's interesting because, John used to always say, if you can't practice, you can't play for me. Now, Cam was doing some sort of conditioning with a former Columbus Blue Jackets guy, so John sort of okayed that. But today he didn't take any line rushes with any line mates. So it's like, is that going to pass as practice? And is he still going to be allowed to play, or is he not playing in the opener? And if you ask me today, I feel like he's not playing in the opener.
Yeah, I agree. We'll see, I guess, definitively tomorrow at morning skate at 10:30 at Wells Fargo. But I think, I mean, my indication would be that he probably isn't going to play as well. And then, the other thing is when we talked to Torts last week, we met with him kind of with the broadcasters before, I guess, the last preseason game. And we were talking about Hart, and it's not ideal that he hasn't been in there to get a preseason game. He goes, when he's cleared, though, if he's cleared on the 12th, he's playing on the 13th. It was clear. He's like, he's going to have to play it sometime, so you might as well just get going. So if he's cleared, he's playing. And it looks like Hart's going to go.
I love the fact that he hasn't played a preseason game. I don't think it's good for any goalie. Like I tell people, and you're a goalie, so you know this. I always say you do still have to go through the motions a little bit before you feel like yourself, no matter what season it is. You're going to do that at the NHL level. And what if, first couple of goals go in on 2 shots? It's, then it's going to be a rough go for him to kind of get it together mentally, where he could have gotten all that out in one game, even 2 periods of one game.
Yeah. It looks like also that Felix Sandstrom's not going to be the backup. He's dealing with a groin injury that he's been nursing here for, I guess, a little while now, when he was taken out of that one game after just facing 2 shots. But let's talk about Urson, because, there's not many, good feel stories of camp. I mean, you do have Lazinski and Allison getting through healthy. You do have some other good stories of camp like Noah Cates. But the good story of camp at a very important position where it's always beneficial to have a lot of depth, Sam Urson came in. Russ, he was so impressive and just so calm in the way he, dealt with everything around him. And I was really impressed by Urson.
Yeah, I've been impressed with him. I want to say 2 to 3 years ago when he came into camp and they won the, the 3-on-3 tournament. He held up the trophy. At that point, I figured he was a little ahead of Sandstrom. Then the injuries occurred last year, and I figured Sandstrom's a little ahead of him. But now I think Urson has gotten a little ahead of Sandstrom again. And I've watched him in preseason. I liked what I saw. I know he didn't give up a goal, and that's fine. But the movements were good. The confidence is there. The only thing I worry about is, and this is a legit worry, and it was going to be the worry for Sandstrom too, but at least he's played, 5 games in the NHL? What if Hart is banged up a little and he can't play 2 in a row? And all of a sudden Urson, with the schedules, got to play 2 or 3 early. That's kind of a rough go for him, but whatever. At this point, he is the backup, and I hope the best for him. But I feel like if the defense is decent in front of him, he'll do well. If things are breaking down in front of him, I don't know how he's going to do.
Well, yeah, that's any goalie, right?
That's any goalie, and especially a young goalie.
Yeah, no doubt, because it can really have you starting to – because you don't know what it's like when there is good structure and what it feels like when there's bad structure.
Right.
And you start to question yourself in that scenario more than you question what's around you as a young goalie, because you haven't gone through it.
Right.
I like how calm he has been and not over reading plays and as other teams attack him.
And he has said all the right things in camp. I think he realized at some point, based on injuries and everything else, that he was in good shape to make it, but never would say it. And he's like, listen, it's out of my control. It's up to them. All goalies are trained to say that now. Goalies never definitively say anything about what they're going to be or what they're going to do. They always say it's up to the team or whatever. To me, that started 5 years ago, because I think when jobs became very scarce in the NHL for goalies realized, hey, not only could I not be here, I could be playing in the ECHL just for time, just because there's no, So I think goalies have been very well trained for lowering their own expectations all the time.
Yeah, maybe they just Googled what the pay is like in the coast, and they said, "Oh shit, I can't end up
My
there."
best story, one of the first articles I ever wrote for NHL.com was about Yarrow Halak, and he had gotten called up with the Canadiens. And I said to him, I said, "What is the biggest adjustment from the AHL to the NHL?" And he said, "The food. The
Yeah,
food's way better."
yeah, the per diem, the
Yeah,
food, the travel, all of that stuff.
all of it.
It just notches up every level you go up from the coast to the A, and then the big jump is from the A to the NHL, where it's
Oh yeah,
5-star hotels, chartered flights, and the whole
yeah.
thing. So, let's look at a couple players in particular. Let's start on the blue line because were you shocked that York was sent down? What were your thoughts on York being sent down to start the season? And perhaps now it looks like Zamula is going to be on that third pair to
Yeah.
begin the season tomorrow night.
Well, I felt like Zamula should be the guy that got in, but the way John was talking about everybody else, Adard included, who I don't think is ready yet. I think he's close, but his offense is there. But with Adard, I just feel like his puck retrieval and still getting used to the pace of the NHL. You saw he was making some defensive gaffes, and I think
Mhm.
he has to sort of get used to that. But Zamula, I felt like did great. So no surprise there with Cam York. Uh, I still felt like his defensive game is good, but his physical part of his defensive game is lacking. And I just had this feeling based on the coach that he wasn't going to let that go. Now, do I think Cam York could survive on the third pairing on the Flyers? Yeah, no question. But the coach doesn't want him to survive like that. He
He
wants
wants
him
him to thrive.
he wants him to thrive and he wants him to be an aggressor. So he sent him back. And I'm okay with that. Uh, does Cam York question himself that if he'd have roughed up a few guys, would he still be in camp? I wonder, because that was sort of a message with Adard, like, hey, he stuck up for his guys, so now I'm keeping him in camp longer. You do wonder if York questioned himself on that, but ultimately, it's not going to hurt him.
Yeah, I think it could ultimately help him because, like Torch said, we need him to be a big part of this thing when we're ready to win. He said, "I don't know when that's going to be, but
Yeah,
when we're a winning team," which I'm going to get to in a second. The other thing about York is that he just seemed to lack a little urgency to his game to push the pace, making the
I think
safe
there's something
play.
to that.
Yeah. It's hard to evaluate him though, Russ, in a way because he's such an under control player and calm
Mhm.
on the ice that sometimes that gets mistaken for a lack of urgency. Where you see other players where they're really frenetic on the ice, and it's maybe just because they're not as talented or smooth, right?
Yes,
And that gets mistaken for urgency and effort.
it does. I heard the going into the draft this about Owen Power. Now, it's not Owen Power's fault that he's remarkably composed. And Cam York is composed for the most part. He
Yeah.
doesn't panic. He's been trained with the NTDP, so he's good at those things. I also think the team may be chasing some extra offense in him that maybe doesn't exist. I think he can play the power play, but maybe the second power play. I don't know if he's a first power play guy. I kind of think not right now, no. And
Especially with
so,
D'Angelo there, yeah.
yeah, especially with D'Angelo, it's definitely a no. But even if D'Angelo wasn't there, I kind of think he still would lose out to Sanheim. I still think it's a no. Whether that comes around a little more, it could,
Mhm.
because his shot is not as accurate as he's moved up the level as I'd like it to be. But everything else about his game is good. It just needs to work on the physical part. He definitely has gotten stronger, but it hasn't totally translated into his game. But yeah, just because you see a guy working twice as hard, my dad would always be work smart, don't work
Smarter,
twice.
not harder.
Yeah,
Yeah, no doubt. That's the key. I talk to a lot of guys about training as they move up through the NHL, knowing what the rigors of the 82 games are like and everything that goes into it, and how much they change their training, program every summer to
yeah,
work smarter, not harder. Don't do a bunch
yeah,
of stuff. Don't just sit there and throw plates all summer when you don't need that element for
right.
your particular game.
Yeah,
Yeah, Zamula making the team is not a shock to me too. He's
no.
definitely added some muscle as well.
He's added the
So
muscle. He was really close last year. He does everything well. He's not going to be a big point guy, but he's a good puck mover, and he has some offense in his game, so he will give you some points.
yeah, and he's a big body too. He's
Yeah,
he's long. Let's look up front because this is such a big year. We'll start with this lower age group of players, whether that's Farabee, whether that's Frost, Tippett is in that same category. Noah Cates. well, I'll take Gates out of it, but those three players, Frost, Tippett, and really those two, let's stick to that. It's a huge opportunity in front of these two guys, and they got to start to cement themselves in the NHL to be what we think they're gonna be. Either that or they're not gonna be it.
Right. I'll start with Tippett. Still in preseason, he finally got a goal, but he's still not scoring necessarily with that shot.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the worry, because still in preseason, it took him a little while to load the shot. Once in a while, he would take it right off the stick, and it wasn't going in. I don't know if he will ever be a sniper. Now, because he has some size and he is getting around the net, he should be able to knock in some pucks that way for sure. So, again, if you saw,
but you're right. You need him to shoot the puck and be able to shoot off the rush and be a trigger.
That's where he's worth the most.
Yep.
The other way is just salvation. Like, hey, he stays an NHLer because he can get around the net and get some goals. But if the shot was right and he was scoring, like, I don't know, as an example, like you saw maybe how Stamkos scored his goal last night on the power play. Tippett gets the same opportunities that Steve Stamkos does on Tampa with his team.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he gets a lot of opportunity. Maybe he's not on top power play all the time, but in preseason he was. Only got the one goal. And so that still I'm trying to figure out what he is. I still think he's still trying to figure out what he is. Morgan Frost is different because he could, if he plays center, which he's probably not going to, but if he plays center, then he is worth a little more because his play around away from the puck is good. His faceoffs are good. And he's not any kind of a defensive liability at all. Is he playmaking enough? No. Do I know why? No. That's the part that has not been unlocked with Morgan Frost. And the only time it was really unlocked with Morgan Frost was when there were no fans 2 years ago with Giroux, and he had those games before he got hurt, before his injury.
Yeah,
he
before the
kind of show it then.
Yep.
And
they got him in the middle now. It looks like he's going to be in the middle with JVR and Allison on that Flyers second line.
Yeah, JVR is not going to help him, though. Yeah. Allison could help him.
Because he's a straight line forechecker. That yes. helps any center out.
That does. I don't know if JVR is going to help him because he's looking to shoot the puck. He's not necessarily looking to play give and goes and things.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how that works out. I will say I did run into Allison's agent when I was in Pittsburgh. And besides having a conversation about his hair, and I told him to keep the hair long, but they didn't listen.
Yeah.
I said, keep the hair long. I'm telling you, we like it. The other thing was, I said, he is maybe the only guy in the NHL that I hope every year is healthy so I can fully gauge what he is as a player.
Yeah.
And so this year, it's the same thing. If he plays 70 games, it'd be like, my God, that's a miracle.
Oh, that'd be fantastic.
It would be unbelievable. But if he goes in and out of the lineup with the way this cap situation is, it's going to create some problems. So I'm hoping he stays healthy because, he could have a nice season. Again, I don't think it's anything more than 40 points at best. But still, on this team, they need it.
The funny thing, I'm interviewing Chuck Fletcher later on for Flyers Daily. Mm-hmm. And on my list of questions here, as I just put it in front of me, one of the things that I put down here to talk to him about is just the fact that Tanner Laczynski and Wade Allison played 5 of 6 preseason games and they come out and they're still healthy. You know what I mean? It was almost like before, Wade in that first, I think it was the first game, that big hit happened on Roussel because he was still with the team at that time.
Yeah.
And Allison jumped in there to defend him. And I'm kind of going, I wish somebody else got there a little quicker.
Yeah. I know. We're always going to have this
scared.
story.
Yeah.
Here's what I would say about Laczynski. I mean, Allison's injuries go back to an injury he had when he was younger. And it just seems like since then, he has never been healthy. Laczynski, it's different. Like he had the hip operations, 2 of them, right?
Yep.
But as far as I remember, that's the only things he's really had go wrong with him.
It's exactly right.
So even last year, when we saw him in camp and he wasn't fully right, he still looked pretty good. And when he scored his goal in the last preseason game, that was a move I saw in college, and I hadn't seen that since he had been here because while he is a meat and potatoes kind of center, he does have some ability too and can do like a
Agreed.
shake and bake like that.
Yeah.
And
When I talked to him, Russ, he talked about the hip. He goes, I had no idea how fucked up my hip was
yeah,
because until I got one of them fixed,
yeah.
and then he got them
He's
both
such a
fixed. He
gutsy
said
kid,
it
he'll
hasn't
just
felt like this in
play.
years.
Yeah, he'll just play. And
Yeah.
so I think there's, and this is nothing against Patrick Brown, but that's an area where there could be massive improvement for the Flyers. If nothing else, from the offensive point of view, Brown may be better with faceoffs, but Lisinski's a pretty good faceoff guy too. But
Mhm.
offensively, there could be a big jump there on the 4C.
Totally agree. One of the things that Chuck Fletcher spoke about today was Sean Couturier, who's now been on the ice quite a bit lately.
Yeah,
The initial reports about Couturier were pretty doom and gloom, but that everything that I heard was when those reports initially came out from San Filippo that hey they were a bit premature because there was a lot more fact finding to be
yeah,
done. And this doesn't seem like it's as catastrophic as people think. You're dealing with the back, so it's always nerve wracking,
yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
especially coming off back surgery. But
Yes. My
apparently, he feels as good as he's felt since the surgery.
Yeah, my feeling was since it was like a training kind of thing, and they said it was just like a disc thing. Dr. Russ said I felt like he was going to be 2 months,
Mm,
and I still feel like in the end he's going to be 2 months just because there's going to be an abundance of caution. But
yeah,
you'll take 2 months over what was previously said for sure.
which
Uh,
was February.
yeah, the bigger question that I have for Chuck would be right now they're 3.9 in the black, but when he comes back, they're going to have to do some. They're going to probably be one or two players short on the season when Couturier comes back just to fit in everybody else, unless somebody else goes on LTIR. Like they're going to be cap juggling all year, especially when Couturier comes back.
Yeah, it's not ideal. Farabee ready for the season opener. That's a huge shock to a lot of people,
Yeah,
and a lot of people. It makes people nervous, Russ, because we saw even Farabee last year in and out of the lineup.
yeah,
Hayes in and out of the lineup. Is it right to start him here? But he's a young man, and sometimes young men. Some people are better healers than others.
that's
It,
true.
it's just a fact, right?
Yeah,
And I was,
I mean
I
Terrell Owens, we could bring that up. I mean, he
yeah,
did have a hyperbaric chamber, but still, how the hell did he get on the field with a fractured leg?
yeah. And the thing is with Farabee, like a buddy of mine was skating with him, and I saw that, and I asked, and I just said, is he pushing? And he's like, no, he's pushing. He looks good. And this is in mid-August, and I'm going, wow, he's
Yeah,
way ahead of schedule here.
yeah.
And then it was kind of trending in that direction, and it continued to trend. And fuck, good on Joel because he must have worked his bag off to get to this
Oh,
spot
I'm
to get
sure he
back.
did.
Yeah, and this is a big year for him. I think he's a player that Torts is going to like a lot.
Torts will like him a lot. I just hope at the beginning he limits his minutes and he kind of watches his minutes.
Shield
Like
him a
if
little
it's
bit.
garbage time in games, there's no reason to have Joel Farabee out there where someone could take a hit at him. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
things
taking
like that.
punishment.
Protect him a little bit until you really can see that there's no issue. I mean, look, Eichel scored yesterday. I don't think he's going to be 100-point Jack Eichel. The thing about Farabee is I always thought he was going to be like a 70, 75-point guy. He probably still can be that because he hasn't really gotten to the point where he had reached his zenith. I think Eichel was getting to that point, and then he had the injury, and he's a little older. So I think you're right. I think it's better that he had this injury when he's younger because I think it's going to be easier for him to kind of figure out how to work with it the rest of his career. I think, he hasn't had enough of a career to know what it's going to be like without it, like what it was
Yeah.
like before. So I think he'll be fine. I do. I worry a little bit that opening night's a little soon, but we all do.
Russ, my biggest concern going into the season is, it's such an important element of a team in the NHL that have your top pairing defenseman be a tandem that you're not going to stop the opposition top line every night. That's their
No,
top lines.
it's a position made to make mistakes. Like you're
Yeah.
going to
You
can't
have to
go.
just limit the damage, right?
Yes, it's
Like
about
we saw
limiting
that
mistakes.
in 1920 with Niskanen and Provorov. Like they faced the Caps 4 times that year. Ovechkin didn't have a goal, had 1 assist against them. The Marchand, Bergeron, Pasternak line had a combined 4 points against them in 3 games. Against top lines, they were doing their job. They were all actually plus on the exchange because Provorov and Niskanen could put the puck in the net as well and gather some points. But with Provorov and D'Angelo, we saw him the one game, and I love when Torch was asked about what he thought of the two. He goes, "Oh, they stunk," and they did. They stunk in that game.
Tony was bad, but I think he also was trying too hard in front of the home crowd. It does happen. It does happen when players come home.
But that pairing, to me, has a ton of intrigue on the ice, off the ice, and it's got to work. It's got to be something that's good for this team. Not only just just because of the importance of the role, but also for the goaltenders and the importance of that role.
Yeah, it's a hard job again for Provorov because like D'Angelo's a great skater and he's good at puck retrieval, but he's going deep all the time. So now Provorov really has to cover for him. And look, he's the best conditioned athlete on the team. Like we all know that. That's never
not even close.
It's not even close. So he can handle a certain amount of that, but there are going to be moments where teams overload on D'Angelo's side, and he is going to have to be able to either be physical or handle the load that way, or the forwards are going to have to help out when D'Angelo's on the ice. It's going to have to be something because we've seen enough of him to know that he probably could play a little better defensively, but it's not going to be close to Niskanen or even Ellis. So they're going to have to make it up somewhere.
Yeah. He's on a top pair last year with Slavin, who did a good job.
But they didn't want him again. Like they only wanted him at a certain price.
Yeah.
And
they ended up with Burns.
But there's also a big difference between Slavin and Provorov too. Let's be fair.
Yep. But Slavin's great.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
We're not going to call Provorov great. We're going to say he's good and
with potential maybe to get there, but he hasn't been there.
Right. Maybe even better suited as a 2, but since the Flyers don't have a 1, he's the 1.
Yeah.
And so, I think there's a difference between him and Slavin, and I think that's another factor.
No question about it. All right, let's get to our NHL awards. We do this every year, Russ.
And I never keep track. I say I'm 50-50 at best.
No, I think you're better than that.
I don't know.
I think you're 51-49.
Okay.
At a minimum.
That's fine.
Let's start with the team in the NHL that is going to win the President's Trophy.
President's Trophy, Calgary Flames.
Wow. Boom. You're going with the Flames.
Yeah.
You're not going to go with like Colorado.
Nope.
Wow. I'm surprised by that.
Well, I think while they're not going to be as good offensively, and they can't be with what they lost, they did up their defense with Uyghur. I think they have a more Suttery kind of team. I do think Tkachuk was probably becoming a distraction, even though nobody said it because they knew he wasn't going to stay. So right now, I think, Sutter's got a firm grasp on this team, and I think they're going to steamroll some teams in the regular season. That doesn't mean they're going to, win the Stanley Cup, but I think they're going to win the regular season.
The funny thing is, Brad Treliving, the job he did this offseason, he didn't sit around and pout about Tkachuk leaving and Gaudreau signing else. He went out and made a huge trade for a really good 2 players in Huberdeau and Uyghur, and rebuffed all the players don't want to play in Canada conversation and in miserable Calgary, and signed both of them. I give him all the credit in the fucking world, man.
That's me too. I mean, he made something happen that most thought wouldn't happen or couldn't.
I think there's some narratives changing around the league, Russ, with guys signing north of the border. JT Miller too, obviously, staying in Vancouver, and also like Johnny Gaudreau going to Columbus. These are markets that we had this notion, and rightfully so, that players were looking to avoid these certain destinations, and that's changing.
It is changing.
That's good.
No, it's good. I think it's changing. Well, I mean, look, the fact that Laine got locked up for a few years helped Gaudreau. I think the fact that, and I covered Eric Robinson in Princeton because I cover Princeton every year. The fact that he knew Gaudreau because Robinson played with Gaudreau's younger brother, so he would be around him all the time. That helped him. All those things were only helped, though, when Gaudreau had to give up his dream with the Flyers because they didn't call him, right? Yeah. So there was that factor too. But still, hey, after that, if anybody would have said Columbus as the next destination after the Flyers, we all thought it was New Jersey. So
Yep.
the fact is, it is good for the league. And I do think Columbus is a much better team. And I'm happy. Actually, I saw a tweet from Goudreau's mom saying it was the first time they had watched him in preseason live. Because again, going to Western Canada, not the easiest thing to do if you're working, you got a family, whatever.
Columbus is a drive. It's not
Columbus
2 flights.
It's easy.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, it's not that hard of a drive.
It's nice for his family. And it will also help Johnny when he comes back through here, because he always seemed to come back through in Philly right before Thanksgiving. He would spend Thanksgiving and then never see him again. Yeah. And now they won't have to do it that way anymore.
My pick for the President's Trophy, and I actually agree with one of our commenters. You're going to be surprised by this. The New York Rangers.
I think they're going to have fewer points than last year.
You think so? I don't know. I think the goaltending, once again, is just so good.
The goaltending is great. I mean, don't get me wrong. The goaltending is great. The defense is still a work in progress. The wingers, the top 6 wingers are a work in progress.
Yeah, but Lafreniere last year in those playoffs started to bust out. Kakko did a little bit.
No, Kakko had a good game last night.
Yeah.
So, like, Hedman had that dirty hit on Kravtsov. He's already got a concussion or enough of a head problem that he's not traveling with the team. So they are a little short. Sammy Blais is already hurt, which, again, that's turning into one of the worst trades they ever made for Buchnevich, even though they called it a salary dump. But you can't call it a salary dump when the guy you're dumping can score 30 goals.
Yeah.
So are they still a good team? Yeah. Are they capable of doing this? Yes, but I don't think they're going to.
I have one concern with them, and that's the coach. And year 2. Like, year 1 for Jargon, everywhere he's been great. After that, things start to get dicey pretty quick.
Yeah, I guess we'll know, like, in the first month how that goes. But, yesterday was a good test. They got past that.
Yeah. Let's go to the Coach of the Year. You think it's going to be Daryl?
No. I even if he wins the President's Trophy, it doesn't mean he is.
But Bruce?
Yeah, I am kind of thinking Boudreau.
Where I am.
I have them coming in third. I'm going to go with Boudreau. I had a few in my head that I wasn't totally settled on, but I like the Boudreau pick.
Yeah, I thought he had that team really kind of moving in the right direction last year. They're just too far out, and they dealt with a lot of shit with COVID and everything last year. I think some settling there with the Miller signing, and we know Bruce's teams are going to score, right?
They're going to score, but I will tell you, we when I did the draft show on Sirius, we had Bruce on day 2, and he spent like 20 minutes with us, maybe longer. And, he loves Demko, thinks he's, either a top 5 or a top 10. I can't remember exactly what he said.
He's top 5. I agree
in the league. Yeah. So there's that. He's still excited about the upside of Quinn Hughes and all that offense that could come. I think they're going a little crazy over Kuzmenko. I think calm down on that. I don't know if he's really going to score as much as people are hoping. I don't think he's Yuri Depita, but I don't think he's
wow. I wasn't expecting to hear that.
Yeah. I don't think he's going to, light up the league either. But I do like the team. And I think Bruce right now has the right mojo going. He is a guy you root for to kind of finally do something in the playoffs, like, get to the Stanley Cup at least.
Yeah. Let's go to the Norris, because you mentioned Quinn Hughes. Is he going to be in that running, a finalist for the Norris? And who do you got winning? I'll just tell you now, I'm going to go chalk. I'm going Makar. He's just too dynamic on too good of a team.
I have Makar too, but I do think Hughes will be in the running. I think Seider will be in the running. Those kinds of guys for sure. It's so hard to keep Makar out of this, though, because
McAvoy's kind of out of it because of the injury.
Yeah, I mean, Fox, Yossi, those guys will be around it too. Again, Makar, what I guess sets him apart from all the other guys, and all the other guys are great, is just the fact that he really can affect so much on the ice. Yossi did that last year. For 1 year in his career, like, he was like Superman, but Makar's like that all the time.
Yeah.
And really, he runs that whole offense. Like, everything runs, even though McKinnon's there, it's Makar that's the one that every team says, we got a game plan for this guy because you can't leave him open.
Yeah, I agree.
So it's hard to go against him.
It is. He's just so dynamic. So you're taking McCarr there.
Yep.
Yeah, I am as well. We're in agreement there. Let's go to the Vezina. I think this is an interesting one. Obviously, Shesterkin is right there. Vasilevsky's always right there. But the guy I actually have winning it this year is neither of those guys. I actually have UC Saros.
Oh, I'm not a Saros guy.
No? Wow.
No, I'm not a Saros guy. I would never go Saros. I think it's Shesterkin. Their defense is still a little suspect, but not as suspect as Tampa. And like again, Vasilevsky could have given up 4 or 5 goals yesterday.
Yeah, he's unbelievable.
If it wasn't Vasilevsky, I mean, it would have been 4 or 5. He was great, and he's going to have to do that all year because their defense isn't great, especially now losing Ian Cole, all of that, right?
Yeah, McDonough.
Yeah, and McDonough is a massive loss. I tried to tell people last year, Sergachev is not, when he got signed, that is not a replacement for Ryan McDonough. Now, Ryan McDonough is not a replacement for Ryan McDonough, but McDonough can still play better defense than Sergachev right at this moment. Sergachev is never going to be at that level with the details and everything. But hey, they had to do what they had to do because they didn't have a lot of other options available to them. So, but getting back to Shesterkin, I think it's him. I think it's Demko. I don't think Nashville's even a playoff team this year. I know they're scoring crazy in preseason and they scored in Prague, but I still have some worries for them. But I'm trying to think, is there anybody else who, Sorokin.
Markstrom.
Sorokin more than Markstrom for me.
Yeah. I think Markstrom because he's playing in that Darryl system. He's a finalist a couple of years ago.
Better defense, for sure.
Yeah, I agree. And Sorokin's an interesting one, too, because I don't think a lot of people, because of the overshadowed nature of Shesterkin, realize that Sorokin is right there with him from an ability standpoint.
Well,
he's unbelievable.
Like, I've been writing about these two guys for a long time because they were both on the Russian national team for the World Juniors, but Shesterkin was the guy who was just above him. When they were both in the KHL, Shesterkin was the guy that was just above him. So he has always overshadowed him, but Sorokin was always right there and was an amazing goalie.
Look at Sorokin's numbers in the K. They're absurd.
Yeah.
They are absurd.
And they're going to be really good this year, too.
I agree. Who's going to lead the league in goals? Is it going to be Matthews? Is it going to be? I don't think it's Ovechkin this year. Is it going to be somebody else?
Lead into it. Mick Kern asked me yesterday, how many 50-goal scorers? And I said 2. And I think Dennis Bernstein was on before me, and he said 4. And I'm like, it's hard to score 50 goals, man.
Yeah.
And I said even Kreider is not going to score 50.
No, he'll score 42 this year.
37, 40, something like that. I agree.
Yeah.
But I said Ovechkin and Matthews will get over 50. Because I still think Ovechkin's at that level, but I don't know how much longer. Honestly, I don't think he's breaking Gretzky's record. Because even if he does 50, he's still got to get like 65 more goals somehow. Like it's a lot. But
I have Matthews there.
I have Matthews too.
Yeah, I mean, he's just so
hard to say no to Matthews. Pasternak, if everything were right, if his team were great, he could certainly be that guy. I just don't think his team has enough for him to be.
Yeah, no Marchand hurts him.
Yeah, that's
on that line. Yeah, that hurts. That's a big loss. And Matthews is in the ultimate year. It's a contract year.
Oh yeah,
where he's going to get $14 million.
Yeah, he's going to be that big percentage against the cap guy that we all wondered.
Highest one. Yeah. 20%.
Yep, 20%.
Most points in the NHL. I mean, to me, this is I can't not go McDavid until you going to go Draisaitl?
Nope.
McKinnon? Gaudreau. He's going to follow up that year.
He's going to follow up that year because I feel like he has hit a point in his NHL career where he is that dangerous. I think on the power play, he's got Patrick Laine, which I think people are underestimating what they might be able to do together. And I also think eventually, I don't think Ken Hughes made the opening day roster, but I think he'll get up there some point this year. And with other guys they have, I think Columbus has improved offensively, and I think it's going to run through Gaudreau. So, yeah.
Interesting. So, should I just write Gaudreau in for the Hart for you?
No.
Okay. Who do you got for the Hart?
You're going to hate it, but Cale Makar.
Yeah, I don't hate it because I wrote down the same exact name. To me, he's the most dynamic player in the game.
He really is. I mean, I only got to see Bobby Orr with the Blackhawks. I watched in 72, and I had an idea what Bobby Orr was. But even then, he was starting to get past it, and then I watched him intently, realizing how great he was, and he was losing it in Chicago. So I never really got to see that guy. Loved Leach. There's been plenty of guys, Coffee. I'd say Makar is the closest thing that I've seen to or know about with Orr ever. And that
Yeah, I
includes
didn't
those
see
other guys.
Orr, but you know, I I was just too young. I'm 50, so I just kind of missed out on Orr. But
Yeah.
um, the dude is I can't believe, Russ, that he's never been converted to a forward with the way he can finish around the net.
Well, why? You see, here's the thing.
You
I
don't need to.
I think if this were 20 years ago, he would have been, because there were defensemen. Like, I remember one year Ron Greshner had there were injuries on the wing, and he played the wing and he scored like 20, 25 goals.
Mhm.
So I think, back then they might have done that, but now the defense is the most important part of the game. So you have a guy that can run. If you could run the offense from the blue line like that and get
Yeah.
those points, why
And
would
join the
you?
rush and defend. But
Yeah.
see, the thing about him that I think is so different is he's got all of these elite offensive skills, but he is one fucking good defender
He is.
too.
He is. He's tenacious.
God, he's
His
so
skating is
good.
so good. It's like it's ridiculous, and
Just
that
puts him in the right spot all the time.
puts him in the right spot. His,
Yep.
his
Gaps are
brain is
great.
really good. The anticipation, the hockey IQ, all
Stick.
those things. And look, I love Quinn Hughes. I think he's one of the smarter defensemen, and somehow Makar is just that little bit better than even Quinn Hughes is as far as the brain, but better in other things too. Obviously, I can't. There's really nobody like Cale Makar in the league.
Yeah. I don't know that we've ever seen a player in today's game
No,
that can do what he can do from that blue line. And, it's weird because I don't throw the term generational around very often.
no, me
And
neither.
obviously he was a guy that came in as a fourth overall pick. And you look at it and you go, he's going to turn out to be generational. Just
Right
is.
now he is, but you also have to know back at the time coming out of the AJHL, it was a gutsy pick
Oh,
because
yeah.
he was
Because
a
he wasn't playing
smaller
at a high
guy
level. Yep.
playing against lesser talent, and
Mm-hmm.
you had to gauge, how is this guy going to be in the NHL against
Against men.
better players? And guess what? He was up to the task. He was up to the task every year. I covered this guy along the whole way. I was up there for the World Juniors. I was there when he was playing in the college championships. So I got to see him win the Hobie Baker. Like, I covered him the whole way, and he's gotten so much better each time. Even myself, I ranked him, I don't know, 8, 10, something like that, because I was like, I don't know. And that's why I know there's this thought that was put out there. Maybe it was put out there by Bobby Clark or somebody who said it was Bobby Clark, that
Cam
the
and Strick
Flyers,
podcast. He said it on the Cam and Strick podcast.
yeah, that the Flyers were thinking about taking him. I highly doubt that the room was going to take Cale Makar, because most felt that even at 4, that was a risky pick.
Mm-hmm.
And I give Colorado all the credit for taking the risk and saying, you know what, we're gonna see this through, because again, the way the Flyers pick, they generally don't go for smaller guys. They generally don't do that. I really don't feel like they would have gone through with that pick.
And the top two were consensus in that 2017
They
draft.
were.
And the funny thing is Colorado in that draft year, Russ, in 16-17 season, they were the worst team in the NHL. Remember Patrick Waugh quit right in the beginning of the year?
Quit. Bednar got thrown into the mix.
Yep. And they were the worst team in the league by 40 standings points.
Yeah.
They end up losing the lottery as clearly the worst team and end up with the 4th pick, and they end up with Cale Makar.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. I mean, but that's how it could be sometimes in the draft,
Yeah.
But it is partially luck too, because again, go back and look at all what everybody was writing back then about Cale Makar, and what I was saying was a lot of the feeling of what he was. Like, hey, this guy is amazing, but he's amazing in the AJHL. It's not going to translate.
Yeah. Yeah, he didn't have a league where you could really project him out.
No.
And it's amazing too. I mean, how's that team that bad that year though, too? Colorado.
Yeah. And even in the World Juniors, at first he was like an extra defenseman until he started being Cale Makar.
Yeah, well, he's Cale Makar now. Last thing for you, Russ. Who's the top 5 picks in the 2023 NHL entry draft?
Oh, wait. We left out Selke.
Oh, yeah, we did. Shit. Let's go real quick then. I got Barkov.
All right. Calder, Matty Beniers.
Okay, you got Beniers on the Calder.
And Selke, we're going with Phil Kessel.
You're full of shit.
I am not. Did you see the play Phil Kessel made last night?
Am I writing down Kessel?
Write down Phil Kessel.
All right.
Because here's a guy that needs to reinvent himself. And what if he's all of a sudden reinvented himself as a great defender because he's not scoring the same amount of goals anymore? He made a play last night that I was like, damn, if he plays like that all year, he could win a Selkie.
It was one game.
I'm going
recency bias has fucked up your brain.
Listen, I'm going with Phil. He eats all those fucking hot dogs. He's a hero.
Did you see his birthday cake? The hot dog birthday cake?
It was awesome.
Awesome. Okay, let's get to the draft. First of all, where will the Flyers?
But Connor Bedard will be 1. I think Adam Fantilli will be 2.
Ooh, okay.
I think Michkov will be 3.
Okay.
After that, I ain't saying.
It starts to pivot.
Yeah, I think it starts to pivot a little. Like I just interviewed Zach Benson. I think he's in the top 10. He could be in the top 5 though. So I'm not really there yet. I'm not just trying to be a jerk. It's just a little early.
Yeah, it's way early.
But I did interview Adam Fantilli like 2 weeks ago, and I was so impressed that this guy was looking at analytics, how guys are scoring in the NHL, all these things to see how he should do it and what he is going to do. And he was talking to me from Yost Arena, and he hadn't played a game there yet, right? And that, could be a very daunting task. Well, it's not. He's got 4 points in his first 2 games as a true freshman.
Yeah.
This guy would be a number 1 pick in any other year, but Connor Bedard's there.
Yeah. How good is Bedard?
He's really good. He made a hit last night. Did you see the hit?
I saw the hit. It was a reverse hit on the guy, and he goes to the guy, "Get some, son."
He knocked him down.
Yeah, he's not a big kid, but
no.
His release is so insane.
I call him, he's like the Energizer Bunny because I've never seen a guy sort of lose any energy on a shift like he does.
From the start to the finish. Yeah.
He's consistent from the start to finish. He's consistently in the zone, buzzing around, and never stops. I've never seen the guy like have a problem on a shift or a long shift the guy's he's generational.
Yeah, he is just look at the numbers last year. He put up 100 points as an underage. It's just ridiculous.
But Fantilli should not be ignored because he's got size, he's smart, he's a center. Like, don't ignore this guy. I know Michkov is tremendously skilled, but you do have to worry about the Russian factor. You do have to worry about how that's all going to play out. He's a tremendous talent, but Fantilli's a better all-around player too. And, I think there's going to be teams that say, okay, let's really talk about this. If we get Fantilli, he's here in 2 years. Because Fantilli told me his path was he went to the Chicago Steel in the USHL because otherwise he would be 4 years in junior hockey. He'd have been 4 years there, and then he would have probably come to the AHL and go to NHL. He said, me making it in the NHL at the age of 18 seemed like a long shot.
Yeah.
So I didn't even want to go that way. And, so now with college, his brother is there too, right? So he's got that to help him out.
See more and more high-end players going that route now, Russ.
Yeah. So at the end of this year, they'll decide where he is. Maybe he comes back for another year. Maybe he is ready for the NHL. But he's gone a better path of development where he's not being rushed. And he's also not being sort of like lost in a league. And so right now, if he pulls this off as a true freshman, man, teams are going to be lining up for this guy.
Well, the other thing, too, in the college with these programs, they can train off the ice so much better now. Yeah, the facilities are just ridiculous. It's unbelievable.
Got everything.
Well, yeah, kidding me. Russ, awesome stuff, man. I appreciate it. We'll do an inventory of our selections at the end of the year.
Yeah, hold on to it. I've got my list here. I'm going to keep it.
If you guys don't know a Post-it note, at least I have it like in a notebook.
Yeah, I'm not that. To be fair, to tell the audience, you literally told me 5 minutes before the show what the agenda was. I didn't know what the agenda was.
That's how I win.
Yeah. But I had already
give you no time to think.
Before yesterday. I did some of this on Sirius yesterday, so it did help.
Well, and you're so well versed anyway. Read Russ's stuff on sportsology.com. Follow him on Twitter on at Sportsology. Appreciate it, brother.
Amazon.com. I wrote a Flyers book.
There you go. You've written a ton of books. They're all on sportsology.com. I appreciate it, man.
All right. See you, Jay.
There is Russ Cohen at Sportsology on Twitter. Give him a follow. Great guy and great stuff from Russ as always. Appreciate him jumping on here on BetParks Presents Stick to Hockey Live. We'll be back Friday with another brand new episode, by the way. It'll be the day after the opener. We do 3 days a week. This week it was Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday. Next week will be Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and that's what it'll be for the most part going forward. We may strategically move some shows around, but we will give you proper notice on that as well. Get the new BetParks app. It's a great time to get it because you've got football, college, and pro. You've got baseball playoffs. You've got hockey now, obviously. You've also got hoops around the corner, college and pro. You've got Formula One, tennis, golf, you name it, it's all there for you. And take it from me, it's a great app. The BetParks app is everything you want in a mobile casino and sportsbook right in the palm of your hand. Easy to sign up, easy to navigate, easy to use, faster to win than ever before. And right now, all BetParks users, new and existing, will get a risk-free bet up to $750 for using the promo code JASON750. JASON 750. That'll get you that risk-free bet up to $750. Terms and conditions do apply. So download the new BetParks app today. You do need to be over 21 and present in Pennsylvania or New Jersey. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. Also, special thanks to Conquerville Subaru. Check out their showroom on Route 202 in Glen Mills. Check out their great pre-owned, certified pre-owned inventory. Check out a list of incoming Subaru vehicles and great service department, free car wash with every visit, and all the great work they do in the community, whether that's, as the inaugural Subaru Nation Love Promise Dealer of the Year winner back in 2015, the work they do with Nemours Children's Hospital, La Comunidad España in Kennett Square, all the different stuff, Marcus Hook Elementary School. They do great work in the community. It's why Conquerville cares. It's more than just dealership, great service department, free car wash that every visit, like I said. So do yourself a favor. Check them out on Route 202 in Glen Mills. Check out the beautiful showroom. Visit ConquervilleSubaru.com online. Check out that inventory of vehicles as well. And remember, Conquerville cares. All right, everybody. We'll talk to you on Friday. Enjoy your hockey tonight. Enjoy the opener tomorrow night, Flyers Devils. And we'll talk to you coming up on Friday with another brand new edition of BetParks Presents Stick to Hockey Live. Have a great day, everybody. Enjoy your hockey.